So I say this all the time, and I know sometimes it can sound like I'm backtracking or repeating myself, and sometimes I'm realizing, when you are a boss, whether you're an entrepreneur, work in corporate America, Wall Street, or whatnot, you have to, deal with certain things. You won't have to deal with complaining. You won't have to deal with working more than you would like. You have to make sacrifices when you're an adult and when you are a boss or leading, paving the way for others to follow you. You're going to have to do those things. Now, as always, I want to thank all my listeners, viewers, subscribers, downloaders. I want to give my appreciation to all the billionaires, the blessed people for, just taking the time out to listen. I haven't been as consistent as I would like, as I was said. When you're a boss, sometimes you have to make those sacrifices. And as a mogul and spiritor, I have to be a little bit more consistent. I always have something to say. Sometimes it's too deep to, really just produce and to create. So I'll put it on platforms like an IG, like a YouTube, Facebook, or whatnot. Nonetheless, whether I have an audience or not, I enjoy podcasting, and it wouldn't be fair for those who are subscribed that I hold back for them. So, moral of the story, I'm saying is, as an adult, as a boss, as a leader, it's okay to get your mind right. It's okay to fall back a little bit. But you have to remember, even if you're not consistent, you have to stay productive. Whether it's inside or outside of your comfort zone, inside or outside of your home, inside or outside of your business. Now, in my mind, I'm a billionaire. In my mind, not 100%, sure when I will actually see it. But as long as you believe it and work to gravitate to that, you will be able to achieve. And I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, because I do know that a lot of us have dreams. A lot of us has plans. A lot of us has ideas. A lot of us prayed. People have lived and died working, praying, saving, just doing what needs to be done to reach their goals. And they die before even attaining that. But I also have a theory, and it's actually scriptural as well, that every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess. So whether you're on your deathbed, whether you're in a death trap, nothing is greater than having God on your side. And that's what leads me to this particular topic discussion on today.
Blessed ones. I'm back. AB1 Studio presents Divine. Welcome to the pod. You are now in the plan.
So while everybody, a lot of my pods that I am fans of, that I'm subscribed to, there's some pretty good shows that has been consistent, that has been, productive and enlightening, very helpful, some more entertaining than anything, but, oftentimes there's a call for redirection. Now, as someone who has a mixed audience, someone who still works a 9 to 5, someone who is, a parent, someone who still might be living paycheck to paycheck, not to make no excuse, we have to make a way for things that we want to do. I try to oftentimes stay as consistent as possible and keep the ideology of my podcast authentic, because again, I don't want to fall into the same box as these set shows that might be always talking about pop culture, talking about what's going on in politics. But for me, it's just your everyday man, working class man, who's just trying to put his voice out there and try to be as encouraging and enlightening and insightful as possible and still be authentic, because I'm not going to pander, I'm not going to kiss ass, and I'm not going to conform to what people want me to conform to. I do, like I can't stress this enough, I do this independently. It would be sure nice to have a team, but I just kind of enjoy potting. And although it would be nice to make an income from it, and I believe at some point I will, just because, again, every day is a process. You have to do research, you have to do your due diligence. Sometimes you have to scratch this, scratch that. And like I said, I'm the one that's behind everything. Sometimes I go on a fly. But, I do want to revisit the discussion about grace and if there's a time limit on it. And for those of you who are familiar with the show, you can send me a message. Message me on IG, on Facebook. I have Twitter X. My email's attached to the pod. There's a way to get in contact with me. So I'm going to ask you this question. I want y'all to listen very carefully. Is forgiveness overrated? And who is entitled to hold someone accountable? I'll say it again. Is forgiveness overrated? And who is entitled to hold someone accountable? One more time. Is forgiveness overrated? And who is entitled to hold someone accountable? Because I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. However, at the same time, one second. Because like I said, I am recording live. But, I need to learn to be a little bit more respectful for my listeners. And I do apologize because I get a lot of texts. Sometimes early when I send out texts, when I send out these texts, not really realizing that people will respond sometimes when, they want to. So, but nobody's perfect. I'm far from it. However, the goal is to be the best version of yourselves as you possibly can. I always say at the end of every episode, stay safe, stay productive and positive. And I know sometimes it's hard to do that, especially when things aren't going your way. And it goes back into being a boss, being an entrepreneur, being a leader. Not to say, just suck it up and deal with it, but it's like, hey, you got to suck it up and deal with it. These are the things that happen because, unfortunately, you're not always going to come across people that are like you. And that's why I think even when you are in a position of power where you have that control, you should, hire and align yourself with people with like-mindedness, who has the same goal, who believes in your dreams, who's there to support your dream. Because here's another thing, and I say this too, supporting someone isn't always about financing them. Supporting someone isn't always about being like, affectionate and emotionally attached to them. But, we can support a person and not agree with what they're doing. Which I understand sometimes it kind of put a rift in certain things, but it's like we have to at some point take a stand on something, believe in something. I'm even with my current situation, I'm been in and out, but like I've been going in and out, trying to, battle these demons that I have, fighting the devil, defeating the devil, and, even trying to stand with God. Because here's another thing. You can be on the fence, but it's like, pick a side. You're either with God or you're with the devil. And a lot of times people align, you know, being in church or being a Christian and, whatnot, being spiritual, being aligned with God. When that's not true. I can talk about that later, but what made me ask these questions is forgiveness overrated, and who's to hold someone accountable, who's entitled to hold someone accountable, is everything that's going on with domestic violence. I addressed this or before on my social media. Like, hey, I'm not going to wait for podcasts to speak on things, because a lot of people, they got to sit here and do these press runs. They got to sit here and drop these different promotional videos. But domestic violence has been going on before Chris Brown and Rihanna, before Diddy and Cassie. Domestic violence been going on before, Tory and Megan, all this stuff in pop culture. And of course, because it is pop culture and it is global news, people are going to address it. But I want to know where you stand in your own home. And the thing about it is, this saying where it says, old to me but new to you. It's like oldie but goodie. And it's like one of those things that's like, we will have information, we will get information that happened years ago and treat it as if it's new. And the only thing about it is, hey, yeah, it's new, we know, but it's the thing about it is, when we're fed information, when we see horror and terrorism and abuse on a screen, it's different when it's reality than versus like fiction. Because again, in fiction, we watch these shows like Love and Hip Hop. We watch these movies like Power and stuff, and a lot of that stuff is going on now. I remember even like me being a wrestling fan, that was happening in real time. I mean, there's not much of that going on, if any at all, these days. You don't see women being powerbombed by men, being stone cold stunned or whatnot. But that was the thing. It was funny. It was entertaining. But when the world changes and everything happens, we have came across certain things our whole lives, but didn't really understand or realize until we was older. And because we were around adults, like I mentioned with wrestling, even with certain things, as children, we follow our parents. We pretty much sometimes watch what they watch if they allow it. Sometimes we sneak watching it because we be like, hey, sometimes it's like when you tell somebody not to do something, because our nature is sometimes to rebel, we're going to do it. So it's like, we don't know why. We're not told why. We're not, we wasn't told, certain things was illegal. We was just saying it was bad. But we don't understand why it was bad. Before I, get back, I was looking at Boys in the Hood. When it was last week, I was looking at Boys in the Hood, and I don't remember last time I seen it as an adult, but, me, my big age, 36, I'll be 37 in 2 weeks, but I was looking at Boys in the Hood, and it hit a little bit different. What Furious Styles, the role that Lawrence Fishburne playing Trey's dad, it made like this is the type of this is the type of figure that we need in the black community. And the crazy thing is, and this is probably just me, maybe I was reaching, but even like when I said I think just based on, if we was to get a remake of Boys in the Hood, I'm not too sure of everything, but I would at least love to see if that was something that he was interested in, Trip Fontaine to play Furious Styles. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of more conscious actors and conscious people that could play him, but it's just based on the things that I pay attention to. And, it goes back again, it's like who's entitled to hold someone accountable? Who do we hold accountable, or who should be the one to hold someone who offends you accountable? Should your peers, should your circle, should the outsiders, should they even comment on certain things? Because I said this before, going back again, just domestic violence or mistreating a person, wronging a person. It was like it Boys in the Hood. Like the mom was the villain. Ricky and Doughboy's mom was a villain. And then of course we had the main villain, who was, the person who killed Ricky. But like I said, I cried. I cried when Ricky died. That was some good acting right there. But I cried, or almost cried, because again, I'm a father. And, even being as young as I was when I seen it, like it was just like I was just looking at it, it's almost kind of like I was desensitized at a young age. But it's still like, it's not normal. It's been going on for years. It, mentally it's probably normal, but killing someone, murdering someone, killing your own and stuff, it's not normal. And again, we do what we're taught. So it's important to have a positive, productive, active man within the family, within the household community, that will be able to set a good example. Because when we're out here listening to these rappers, when we're out here looking at these movies and shows, these violent shows and stuff, and then we can acknowledge that it's just television, but music is just what things sound like. Art is imitation of life. So even when we're watching, scripted television, reality shows, we look at it and say, oh, this is acceptable. This is acceptable because there's people who are portraying a role or participating in something, they're getting paid for it, and the world always made it about the bag. Money isn't everything, but when you don't have it, it is. And I think sometimes even when you're in a position not to like, when you're in a position of power where you can kind of make a difference and don't, that's gonna be on you. But I didn't want to be too long, but I just wanted to pose that question. And if you want to answer, and if you want to reply, and again, and sis have any questions, suggestions, requests, you can always send an email, send a comment under below on my Spotify. But it's I'm here. I want to be a little bit more available, more open, more direct, more consistent, more positive, more productive, more prosperous. I want to be as safe as I can in a safe place. But you can never be in a safe place when your mind is somewhere else. because everything starts in the mind. We can't control everything that pops out in it, but we have to be able to learn how to manage it. Like I say all the time, because again, things can be a little difficult, especially when you're getting help by someone, when somebody's looking into certain things. Like going back to domestic violence, it's like that Diddy video. It was like, man, that's the worst part was the pulling her and kicking her on the floor. You gotta remember this was a grown man, and even though it was like 10 years ago or whatnot, the reason why it's why a lot of people are affected by it is because people heard stories. There's people out here with information that's been telling us, and we just don't listen sometimes. A lot of times, especially when it comes to the entertainment business, it's almost like you have to see it to believe it, which in cases is necessary. And of course, I'm not someone who falls under the lines of, how can 100 people be wrong? 100 people can be wrong. 100 people can be wrong. And my main thing is knowing who you're dealing with. Because like I done said what I said. I said this happened, years ago, but we discovered it weeks ago. But it's like we always have something to say about other people because we deal with our problems every day, and a lot of times we're dealing with our problems in our minds. A lot of us aren't in therapy, but a lot of us are. I try to refrain from using this word, but as a black man in America, I'm black first. And America, of course, to me and my loved ones, I'm a man first, but in America, I'm black first. It doesn't matter, if I'm, in my 30s. It doesn't matter if I'm a parent. It doesn't matter if my sexual orientation is gay, trans, or whatnot. It doesn't, none of these things matter. I'm black first. That's the first struggle that I have. Because I know there's going to be some disadvantages, but there's also more advantages. It just all depends on what you pay attention to. See, a lot of times people, we will judge wrong because of where our minds is at. Wrong is wrong. There could be there can be something that we do that's maybe worse than another thing, and sometimes it's dictated based on the law, or that is dictated based on the trauma. But, one thing, like I said, to me, when you can't come back from death, when you kill somebody, their life is gone. Not to discredit people who are abused, not to discredit, people who are wrong. But, when you are someone who took a life, it's almost like they get a little bit more grace. I'm not going to wish prison on anyone. I'm not going to wish death on anyone. It's not my place. My thing is, hey, there's justice system that is flawed. But You know, I'm not in the justice system. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I'm none of that. But even with just me having a platform, even with me being a father, even with me someone who's in the community, I can do a little bit more. You know, but it's one of these things that I want to say. You know, we are so tied to people who we are entertained by, and it keeps us away from our God-given purpose. Not all of us are God's children, but we're still made by God. We can be, but sometimes it's just not in that DNA. You know, we're gonna have addictions. We're gonna have struggles. We're gonna have adversity. You know, how are we combating that? Because I promise you, someone who has been abusive to you, someone who has offended you, someone has done you wrong, all they're doing is reflecting and projecting it on their own life. Not saying that it's right, but you know, we're never going to get past our traumas when we dwell too much in it. You know, we got to take the time to deal with our issues, even when it's was something that someone applied to us. You know, it's in my own experience. You know, I'm very forgiving because I'm understanding. I know that nobody's perfect, and I know that some people might have some loose screws up there. So I don't honestly, I don't hold grudges. Maybe it's crazy not to. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm going to position myself to let it happen again, but I do know that the only way to get past trauma, it may not even be forgiveness, but you have to receive it. You have to deal with it. You have to remember that it's not your fault. And you also have to remember that we're it's just a reflection and projection. It doesn't make it right. It does not. Trauma isn't at all the victim's fault. But I think there should be something that needs to be addressed as far as how to get through it, how to get past it. Some people won't get past it, and even with me saying that the only way to get past it is dealing with it, allowing yourself, giving yourself some time to heal, because I know trauma can give us trust issues. It can give us a very traumatic, hesitation to even get in some type of relationship, to even deal with certain people. You know, I have my own traumas. That's another episode, but I have my own traumas, and I don't really realize that it's trauma until it comes back. So it's like I have to do better, and dealing with them. I can't change the past, but I can definitely stay focused on the future. There's going to be some detours. That's all I'm saying. There's going to be some detours, but never let pain, hurt, anger, adversity, never let those things stop you from striving. It might slow you down, but don't let it stop you. Your purpose before the trauma is still your purpose. And we just have to, find a way to get back to that. But is forgiveness overrated? And who is entitled to hold someone accountable when they're offensive? Think about that. Get back to me. This is Blair, your Cancer Care Bear. Stay safe, stay prosperous, productive, and positive. I'm out. Thanks for listening. 1.